Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lakshmi Prasanna, Coordinator, All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation Training Academy. It's my great privilege to invite all the EC and Central Council members of ADCOC, the industry body members and academia, and the special guest for today's program, Mr. Arvind Varchesvi, and Chief Advisor, SW Deshpandeji, and all of the members. And it's my pleasure to invite you all for the 21st webinar of ADCOC Training Academy on Indian System of Medicines and Way Forward for Enhanced Global Presence. And we have with us the eminent Ayurveda specialist, Mr. Arvind Varchesvi. And so as we all moving slowly towards the Ayurveda system medicine, especially in the times of pandemic, people say the history repeats, and for all of our Indians, we know very well about the Ayurveda, but as we move towards the modernized system of medicines, we slowly tend to forget. But the COVID pandemic has remained pulled back to this Ayurveda system of medicines. And in today's session, let's hear more from Mr. Arvind. Now let me call upon our Chief Advisor, SW Deshpandeji, for the opening remarks.
Good evening, everybody. It's really my pleasure and privilege to be welcoming our today's guest, esteemed personality. Establishing the All India Training Academy was always very close to our heart, and the Executive Committee, Central Council, over so many years strived hard, and ultimately this dream is realized. I must also compliment and congratulate Lakshmi for maintaining a consistency for last 1 year, and I'm happy to know that this is 21st webinar over a period of more than 1 year. And of course, he is ably guided and supported by our Secretary General and now, of course, Honorary Director General, Mr. Ravi Udayvaskar. We are all aware that Ayurveda, Unani, and Siddha medicines have a rich heritage, and it has been documented, has been used over 1,000 years by the proponents of the system. And the documented books are also recognized in the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. As rightly said by Lakshmi, the Ayurveda and other Siddha and other Indian system of medicines came into forefront in the fight against the pandemic COVID-19. And people have been immensely benefited out of that. The export front is also encouraging for the Indian system of medicine. Of course, there are roadblocks, and I'm sure today we have a very good, exceptional personality, Mr. Arvind Varchesvi from Sri Sri Tattva, which is very well known and perhaps revered organization in Ayurveda. So with these words, I'm sure the delegates today, participants today would be immensely benefited so that we also get exposed to Indian system of medicines, its issues, what are the problems, roadblocks in exports, and what's the current status. The regulators would be certainly happy to understand all this. With this, I request Lakshmi to take this session further.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your heart welcoming opening remarks. So now let me invite our guest speaker, Mr. Arvind Varchesvi, to share his vast experience in the field of Ayurveda system of medicines and what is the way forward for this system to be recognized globally across the world. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lakshmi Prasanna, for having me here. At the outset, I would like to convey my heartfelt regards to the All India Drugs Control Officers Confederation and also the Training Academy here for having me here as a guest speaker. Deshpandeji, thank you very much for your opening remarks. And Uday Bhaskarji, Director General, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. And as what Deshpandeji actually mentioned in his opening remarks, saying that there's a real burst of interest towards the entire Ayush systems of medicine, especially during the pandemic time. One particular thing that I would like to mention to you is that while we have heard from a whole lot of people, especially during the pandemic and perhaps even before, that the Ayush systems, and especially Ayurveda, is a 5,000-year-old science, and it's been here in India and also perhaps across the world as well, and has been well documented over the years. But we've seen that over the last, say, perhaps 3 to 4 decades before 2010, we have seen that there was a lot of prejudice against the entire science to see that, okay, whether it's an actual system of medicine, whether this is something that what we should imbibe in our lives, whether it's just a lifestyle change, what exactly is it? But we've seen that in 2014, these systems have been given an entire ministry, and there are pharmacopoeial standards. There's an entire pharmacopoeia that governs each one of these systems, and whereby it gets statewide and also national direction when it comes to it being a system of medicine. We've seen that the government of India, and Uday Bhaskarji here being the Director General of Pharmax, will also would be accepting and also agreeing with what I'm saying, is that there's a whole ambit around the world whereby people are interested in the science of life, Ayurveda, and also the Ayush systems. The pandemic really has taught that how one must attend to one's lifestyle. We've seen that while there are systems of medicine that bring across symptomatic responses, we've seen that Ayurveda and the Ayush systems go across even to the root cause, saying that, okay, if you have a headache, why did you get a headache? If you get sugar, is it because of your lifestyle? Because I do believe that it's not one fine day a person becomes diabetic. So some of the times it might be hereditary, but at some times we also need to understand that this is a lifestyle disease. So we need to attend to one's lifestyle. So especially during the pandemic, we've noticed that the Ayurvedic systems also have come to the forefront. We've seen a lot of clinical trials that have happened in India, with regards to these systems. And some of the medicines have also been repurposed by the Ayush Ministry as, a COVID-19 medicine, whereby it could be repurposed for mild to moderate cases. And, Shri Tattva's, Siddha medicine, Kabasaragudi tablets have also been repurposed to see that how they could also be used as an intervention when it comes to COVID-19 in mild to moderate cases. What does this really signify? That it signifies that this entire system also not only has stood the test of time, but also is also imbibing modern day standards to see that how it could be relevant even in today's world. As drug controllers, I'm sure that all of you would be going through strict SOPs and also GMP norms. You'll be very happy to note that even the entire Ayush industry is also imbibing a whole lot of these GMPs and SOPs and coming in line to see that how there is no stone unturned to see that the best of quality of medicines are given across to the world in these systems of medicine. At Shri Tattva, I'm very happy to mention to you that it's not only in terms of the processes do we have the ISO 22000, HACCP and GMP certification. We are one among the few who also have the WHO CGMP and also COPP certification for our products that would make the Ayurveda products in line with any other pharma product when it is specially exported. We've not stopped only here. We are the first Ayush and also Ayurveda industry to get the ANMAT GMP, which is in line with the PICS GMP certification when it comes to export of Ayurveda medicine. Apart from this, we also are perhaps the first to also be recognized as a herbaceutical by the Ministry of Health in Oman, similarly with that in the UAE Health Ministry as well. And apart from this, we also are having the site license as a botanical medicine from Health Canada. So what does it really signify? That it signifies that as long as both regulators and also industry come together to see that how a system of medicine can be recognized, it does involve a lot of hard work, involves a lot of homework, involves a lot of study, research, So as long as you're able to go across this entire cycle, I'm sure that the entire world is, ready to accept all the systems of medicine. I'm very happy to note here that the Ayurvedic history has seen that there are a lot of ways in which that how Ayurveda and the Ayurvedic systems can gain better recognition worldwide. And to start off that, Uday Bhaskarji also here has been very instrumental along with FICCI and also with the Ministry of Ayush to see that how we could set up an Ayush Export Promotion Council to see that how all the Ayush systems of medicine, both medicine and services, can be exported worldwide. It's very important that when any system of medicine, is exported or also within, we do have a lot of research happening within it. And that's why even at Rishi Tattva, whether it's during the pandemic or even before, we see that the products that are launched are well researched. Even during the pandemic time when we came about with our COVID-19 research, we've seen that we make certain research papers whereby it is publishable not only in local but also international journals and also peer reviewed and also high impact journals as well. So right now as we speak, we are also, I'm happy to mention to all of you that we're also researching on another medicine, and we've done more than 10 clinical trials across the country. Two of them also include AIMS, two AIMS hospitals are also there who are a part of this research. And we've seen that this new medicine that what we've put across in clinical trial has really shown a whole lot of promise. So this is how much I can share with all of us here today. It is in a matter of review right now. So once the final results are also published, I'll be happy to share it across with this forum. Having said this, it's important that when we talk about exporting all these medicine services, it's very important that even within the country or the country of origin also understands, believes, and is also educated more about the system of medicine. I would request all the regulators over here to really champion the cause to see that how the Ayush systems of medicine would be included more into the educational system for children as they're growing up. It is important that they know the medical and medicinal properties of turmeric, ginger, all these things that are daily use products that what we have even in our food. Sometimes we do not even know what are the medicinal properties of these particular products. We've seen that whether it is an extract from turmeric being curcumin has so many properties, and there are so many international journals that have been published on curcumin alone. You'll be very happy to note that even a product like coconut oil, it has thousands of international publications on the benefits and uses of coconut oil in terms of medical properties, not just normal use, but also medicinal properties. This is something that what we really need to champion, and this is something that's come from India. So I feel that it is very, very important that we bring it into the educational system to see that how this particular system of medicine that has originated from India is is not only recognized in our own country, but also worldwide. One more point I would like to mention to you, that the pandemic also has taught us the importance of mental health. So when we look at Ayurveda or the Ayush systems of medicine, we've seen that there's a whole lot of importance given to the mental framework. And I think that in India, we definitely do understand that how is it that we need to attend to our mind. From so many thousands of years, we've seen that people meditate in our country. So we've seen that, meditation techniques from the art of living were researched by Yale, Harvard, and also Stanford, and also their papers have been published and shows that how when a person does the Sudarshan Kriya of the art of living, that how their cortisol levels come down, their base cortisol levels change and are drastically reduced. Apart from this, we've also seen that positive affection and also confidence in people, how they're able to communicate to people also changes. So I feel that health has to take a totally new definition going forward. So it's not only symptomatic or saying that I need to cure a particular disease, but also get back to the root cause and see that how this could be prevented in the first case. And I think that that's where the Ayurvedic systems also can champion a whole lot of things. One thing we need to understand, and especially the pandemic has really taught everybody across the world, is that it's not just about a system of medicine that what you believe in, but what system of medicine works for you and when. Because we need to understand that when it comes to critical care and also accidental care, there's nothing to beat allopathy. But when it comes to lifestyle changes and perhaps answers that what the allopathic system does not have, that's where the Ayush systems also come into play. And we've seen that COVID-19 has given an equal platform for all these systems to come together and see that how they could attend to one's health. And I feel that this is very important that we communicate to people that it's not about which system is better, but which system works for you and when does it work for you. This has to be communicated and has to come loud and clear. And apart from this, we also need to see that we make it as a part of one's life. So I urge all the drug controllers over here to make meditation and also the Ayush systems a part of your life, because when there's a lifestyle correction, automatically your health also becomes much better. So it's when you give prime time to your own health, to your own body and mind, that's when you can also give prime time, and your body and mind gives back prime time to people when they really need it. So I think that with these few words, Lakshmi, I just wanted to convey to everybody that the entire Ayush systems are very relevant. They are an entire scientifically, brought out system, and it has stood the test of time. And what really is beautiful about it is that these systems are also custom made. So what works for me would not perhaps work for you. And for everybody, it's a very customized system. It depends on what your body types are. So it's just not about taking a pill or taking a particular plant and feeling good, but there's a whole science behind it, saying that which plant is good for you, which part of the plant, whether it's the root, whether it's the stem, whether it's the leaf, whether it's the part of the fruit. So there is so much research that has gone across on this. And I urge all of us over here to have more such seminars to get educated about our systems of medicine. So it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I would also take this opportunity to invite you all also to our campus here in Bangalore. It'll be lovely to share across more such inputs and also share more ideas to see that how our entire Ayush systems can be recognized worldwide. So I think with these few words, Lakshmi, it's been a pleasure to be here with all of you. And over to you, Lakshmi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind. As you rightly said, it is what we give to our body. Ultimately, it is what we get out of from that. And so since we are all working the common cause of the healthy lifestyle for all the population across the world, and Ayurveda is becoming the more and more importance to each and everybody's life. And it's not just in India, but even across the world, people are looking more towards Ayurveda. So at this point of time, how do you feel in terms of the industry perspective, or in terms of the regulators perspective, or from the government's perspective, what collaborative efforts that we could do more to penetrate this system of medicine into everybody's life across the world? So could you please throw some light in that perspective as well?
Definitely, Lakshmi, thank you very much for this question. See, right now, let me tell you from Sri Sri Tattva side, what is it we are doing? During the pandemic, we've had MOUs from many, from many countries. And just to let you know that we had an MOU with the Frankfurt Innovation Center for Biotechnology, which is, semi-government, a body over there. So what they did is that they did research on our, on Sri Sri Tattva's Kavasura Kudineer tablets, that what we had made across. And they showed that on an in vitro model, that it had 84 to 85% inhibitory properties of the SARS-CoV-2 on an in vitro model, on the ACE2 cell model. We also redid that on a Virus6 cell over here in India, and we saw similar properties. So what happened is that there's a whole buzz saying that how the Ayush systems are also relevant. While we do understand that in vitro studies are, the first base models to see that how any particular, drug would work, and you need to do a whole lot of work after that, which we did. we need to understand that we need to educate people across the world, because not everybody knows about systems. So what is the first point? Collaboration. Collaborative efforts is the key, and that's what even COVID-19 has taught us, saying that you can't do everything on your own. You collaborate, and you see that how is it you could bring the best to everybody. So it's important that we champion it from India as a country, as a system of medicine, and not just only an industry. See, right now Ayush systems have really got a big level of interest across the globe. So it's important that we speak one voice and see that how things can get recognized. So from Shri Shri Tattva side, we've done it in Frankfurt Innovation Center for Biotechnology. We've also assigned, our products and what should I say, doing research in other institutes as well across Europe. We've seen that we are also sending some of our products as far as the US and also down to South America. So there's a whole buzz of interest that's saying that, okay, the Ayush systems are definitely working for us. And this misnomer that the Ayush systems are slow to act in the body is very clearly moving away. So it's showing that the efficacy and effectiveness and speed of effect of all these medicines are also as equal to that of allopathy. And again, I'm not comparing any system of medicine, but giving you a benchmark, saying that what is it that people's expectations are. Next point is that we also need, Uday Bhaskar ji over here, who's here with us, also would agree with me that it's very important that we set right the harmonized course, which is what he's also been working on, to see that how this can happen. And right now, even the Ministry of Ayush is also working on to see that how this entire system can go across, because when it came to the HS codes, whether they would be as food or whether they would be as medicine. So all these things are, happening and, are also getting resolved. So that's another major step. Apart from this, we need to recognize our practitioners. It's not important that you only send across the products, but also the practitioners need to be recognized. You don't recognize the practitioners, who's going to actually go and, prescribe the products over there. So services is a very, very important point. And this is something that what we need to see. And right now, we from FICCI's side, where I also co-chair, we've also represented to the Commerce Ministry to see that how the entire Ayush systems can also form a part of the FTA, to see that how things can be recognized in a much better manner. But I think the aspect of COPP recognition does give a bigger boost. We've seen that the recognition across the world would make a very big difference. And the Ayush industry is certainly growing at a very, very fast pace. We've seen that people would like to imbibe these products into their life and have it as something to do with their daily work as well.
Thanks for sharing your insight in that front, Arvindji. May I request our Honorary Director General, Mr. Uday Bhaskar sir, to throw some light on this aspect?
Lakshmi, thank you so much, Arvindji. Lakshmi, we'll go to the audience first. We'll go for Q&A.
Definitely.
That's
so
better. People are interested to hear from you. It's as a regulators, most of the time we are working with allopathic system of medicine or cosmetics and medical devices. This is completely, he has given a very vibrant talk. Actually, he is touching upon about PICS. So even pharma is they have so many apprehensions about going to be part of the PICS, but Ayurveda, Arvindji is telling that the PICS and CGMP. So most of the regulators are not very much sure about exactly what's happening in the area of Ayush. So better we'll go for Q&A, Lakshmi.
Sure.
So Udayji, just to touch upon this particular aspect, what you've said is very correct. Seeing that, I feel that it is important that the regulators here in India are also educated on the aspect, seeing that where the entire Ayush systems are going across. As you rightly said, that there's like right now every country has their own regulatory requirements. So which is why even you were also a part of this particular meeting where this entire Ayush Export Promotion Council, where I actually put across one particular point, saying that we need to have a single window clearance, whereby all the countries would come and say, okay, as long as you have these particular requirements, you're recognized, under our health ministry. So as what you rightly mentioned, there's one side where we have the COPP and the WHO CGMP, which is issued by our controller over here. But apart from this, sometimes that might give you an enhanced or like a preference route, saying that, all right, you already have this, so therefore the regulatory compliances will be a lot lesser. But still in these countries, even though you have these WHO CGMP and also COPP requirements, you still need to go through their own registration process as well. So to actually bring that onto a better platform, it might be better that we bring across their health ministry onto our single window clearance over here, at least a list of say 5 countries or even 3 countries, and start off with that, to see that there would be mutual recognition that if we apply through the Ayush Export Promotion Council, automatically you would get registered across over here. And the Ayush Export Promotion Council would also have officers from the relevant ministries over there to see that all the regulatory requirements and the reforms are also taken care of. So these were some of my points that what I thought I'll just touch upon, on some of the comments that what you made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me take to the question and answer questions from the Q&A. So one of the questions from Dr. Jagshetty ji is that the recent Gazette notification GSR 716E dated 1/10/21. So could you please highlight with respect to perpetuality of the license and inspection once in 5 years instead of twice a year? GMP certificate for 5 years and then its continuation just by paying the retention fee. Does it not impact on the manufacturing units?
Could you just repeat the question? You're saying that...
So the recent Gazette notification, GSR number 716E dated 1/10/21. With respect to that, can you please highlight with respect to perpetuality of the license and inspections once in 5 years instead of it twice a year, and the validity of 5 years for GMP certificate and its continuation just by paying the retention fee? Will there be any impact on the good manufacturing units?
So I think this is a very good question. I think the only way in which that how we could answer this is to wait and watch. But I think the aspect that would be covered across here is to see that giving across the GMPs would also be made across a little bit tougher, to see that they comply with things. So, and also these particular GMPs, as what they also mentioned, saying that it is going to be across for 5 years. So obviously only serious industries would also be looked into. So I think to give across this GMP certification, there also right now there are different methodologies that what even the Ayush Ministry has come about with. So if you see that there's actual Ayush mark that is there, whether it's the Ayush standard mark or the Ayush premium mark. So the Ayush standard mark is more so on the lines that what is required for the framework of Indian standards, and what so that does not mean that the Ayush standard mark is a low standard and the Ayush premium mark is on a higher standard. It's just the regulatory compliances that what would be required to be followed vis-a-vis India, and also with regards to abroad markets as well. So there are a whole lot of things that what the ministry is coming out with. And this particular notification, as what you also mentioned, we need to wait and see that, how this would actually impact. But this much I can mention to you that apart from, getting GMP certification, from the state licensing authorities, we've seen that industries also prefer to go in for more GMPs, which would actually give them more recognition worldwide as well. So, and right now the entire Ayush industry is getting very serious on this.
True, sir. I mean, the consideration of WHO GMP has also been a favorable factor for the industry to spread across their presence in the international market. And in terms of the international presence, could you throw some light on the international regulatory aspects for enhanced market presence of the Indian products in the international market?
Yes. So right now, Lakshmiji, is a very, very relevant question. And this much I can tell you that over the last decade is the, as what I mentioned to you, that the prejudice against the science has, slowly come down, and it's actually being recognized worldwide a whole lot more. And I did mention to you that we have a whole list of certifications as well. There's a whole lot of things that still needs to be done. For example, there are certain laws in Europe per se that still do not recognize the system of Ayurveda or the entire Ayush systems, and still you would be classified as a food supplement over there. So right now, from FICCI side, from the ministry side, we're seeing that how some of these laws can be changed. Being regulators, I'm sure that all of you would be aware of the THMPT law, which per se has certain clauses that are not very favorable to the Ayush industry, saying that the use case scenario has to be that the product has to be there in the entire market 30 years prior to that. So there are certain points like this that are there in the law that are not making it very enabling for the entire system to thrive there, although you might really satisfy all the other registration formalities, and also in terms of the quality parameters, whether it's heavy metals, aflatoxins, or any of the other parameters that have been set out over there. So yes, I feel that there's a whole lot of work that is cut out for the ministry and also for the industry to see that how we could get things done. But there are a whole lot of other countries that are also welcoming Ayurveda and all, that are also recognizing it, like some of the places being like Mauritius, Malaysia, and a whole list of other countries that what I could name a few over here. So we've seen that the ministry has got across a whole list of MOUs over the last 2-3 years, and especially during the pandemic time, to see that how Ayush systems can be recognized in those countries. They've had a whole lot of MOUs signed, and they're taking it forward as what all of us would understand, that to recognize a pharmacopoeia, it does take a little bit of time. But I think the ministry is really working very fast on it, and we're sure to see some good news and good pieces of news in the coming years as well.
We believe the continued efforts of the government, especially in promotion of the Indian Ayurveda system across the world by setting up the Ayush Export Promotion Council, as well as the Ayush centers, even at Indian missions abroad, will definitely lead a way forward for the Indian system of medicines in the overseas world. So there are a couple of comments in the chat box, and let me just read out those comments, Arunji.
Please.
Dr. Nishit saying that the regulatory harmonization and mutual recognition among the countries are very much required for getting the acceptance of the Ayurveda in the world.
Fully agree.
I will fully agree. And the uniform regulation all over India is also the need of the hour. So right now what we see is each state regulatory body regulates, but there is no understanding among other states. There is no uniformity also among the state expert committee for approving patent and proprietary medicines in India. So Arvindji, would you like to
touch
up?
Yeah, yes. So I'll just touch up briefly on this, Dr. Nishit. Thank you very much for bringing this. So as you see, although there is a uniform regulation that is there in the entire Ayush systems, we see that health is a state subject, and it is governed across by the states. So I fully agree with you that we would need to request the states, and all of you being future drug controllers, and also some of you already, to see that how the entire state bodies are also educated more. I will take this particular feedback both to my industry bodies and our manufacturing associations, and also to the ministry, to see that how we really make this thing happen. But and also when it comes to patent and proprietary medicines, I think that there is some amount of uniformity. Some things have changed over the last 1 year, and I welcome some of these steps that the government has taken across, especially to make patent and proprietary medicines a little bit easier than what it was, before. So I think these have changed over the last 1 year, and you'll see a whole lot of things changing even month on month. So I think the ministry is really coming out, and I'm sure that all of us also need to give it across to the ministry that perhaps it's the youngest ministry that what we have right now in the entire portfolio and the cabinet. And I think it's quite active and doing a great job on that. But I feel that the allopathic ministry that's already been there on terms of pharma can definitely share across best practices. And also we should see that how the Ayush ministry and the Ayush industry also benefit from this.
Thanks for your inputs, Arvindji. And there are a few questions in the Q&A.
Yes.
So one from Mr. Madhu. Can you please highlight the difference between classical Ayush-based formulations and herbal formulations?
So if you see right now, classical formulas that is already there in the pharmacopoeia, that what you would see as classical text. These are formulas that are already being laid out, and this is already there as a part of the entire classical formulatory. So it would be like your Triphala or your Amrut. So whether it's your single herb or multi-herb formulation, so all this would already be there. Say, for example, a Chyawanprash. So this is a classical formula that is there. But if you were to do something along with that and you change the ingredient base, and then later you bring across different herbs and you've done some clinical trials on that, then that would classify it to be as, what do you call not as a herbal formula, but as a proprietary formulation. Now, when it comes to herbal formulations, it could be Ayurveda, it could be Siddha, it could be Unani. So you need to see that which is the system of medicine that what you would be falling into. I hope that answers the question, Lakshmi.
Yes, Arvindji. So the next question is whether Ayurvedic products are having standards for test and analysis.
Yes, very much, definitely, very, very much. This is perhaps the first and foremost thing that what all of us have to understand is that there are very clear set standards that what industry would have to follow when it comes to all these products. So you need to understand that when it comes to Ayurveda products, there are whole herb products and there are extracts. So the standards are different for these two. And how these products would be behaving, what sort of research and what sort of standards what you need to follow for these two particular products would be different, and they're clearly laid out. One more thing I want to tell all of you as controllers over here and also students is that this part of education is very, very important when it comes to the Ayush systems. You need to understand that in this part of heavy metals, it's really the sort of differentiating that, in Ayurveda or Ayush products, there are heavy metals, it's very bad. So let me break it down for you, is that in some products, heavy metals are ingredients. In some products, heavy metals are contaminants. So you need to be very clear. There's an entire system, there's an entire chapter called Rasha Aushadhi, which only deals with heavy metals and their preparations and also their formulations. So they need to be prepared properly, then administered across to people. And how this particular formula is being manufactured is also very, very important. Now, let me tell you something. So it also depends on which industry is also good in this particular methodology of formulation. Now, for example, at Sri Sri Tattva, we don't manufacture any products of heavy metals. Like, we do not create those heavy metal ingredients ourselves. So this is very clear because that comes across through certain standards, and that is something that what needs to be done. So then again, I tell you that in a product like, say, Amla, or when it comes to Triphala, heavy metals are and aflatoxins are contaminants. But when it comes to some products like a Bhasma, heavy metal is an ingredient. So as regulators, it is very important that this is educated and put across properly. Now, whether it comes in India or whether it is outside the country, there are clear standards of heavy metals and aflatoxins and their limits, whether it's in the PPP or PPM standards. very, very clearly laid down, and it is important that what industry conforms to these standards. So this was one thing that I really wanted to share with all of you being regulators. Thank you.
The piece of information is very much insightful, especially for all of our regulators. And Arvindji, can you also throw some light on the IPR issues around the Ayush products as requested by one of the participants?
Yes, so I think, IPR is something that what even the ministry is also taking across very seriously. We've seen that at some years back, whether it's turmeric, neem, and, a couple of these products were tried to be patented outside the country. And, the Indian government has seen that, these particular IPRs are, back here in India. So with regards to IPR issues, we definitely need to make it more relevant to the Ayush systems. Some of these systems might be relevant to that of, whether it's on the allopathic system side or on normal invention side. But I think a little bit more inputs has to be taken when it comes to changing and also making the IPR a little bit more relevant to the Ayush products and services. It's very, very important.
Thank you, sir. And moving on to the next question, sir, how to ensure the safety and toxicological profiles of an Ayurvedic formulations before placing in the market?
Yeah, so I think, Lakshmi, I think I've answered this particular question. There are clear standards that are laid by the government, whether it's in India or whether it's outside the country. It is the duty of the industry to ensure that these are followed. And as what I rightly mentioned to you, there are different standards for Rasha Aushadhis and different standards for normal preparations.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And there is another question from Ramaya, that what made the Indian system of medicine lost its charm over the Western medicines, and how it can be brought to the front line?
I think with regards to anything in life itself, the graph is never stagnant. It's always up, down, up, down, up, down, whether it comes to civilizations or any particular thing. So even with regards to industry or any particular thing that you take in life, there are always ups and downs, including our moods. So my point is that even these systems had their ups. So it did have its, downward valley curve as well. But I think now it's coming back on top. What is it we need to bring them across onto the front line is that we need, people like all of you to come forth and get educated more about the entire Ayush system of medicine. I really welcome this seminar. I think it's really a game changer when it comes to how the entire systems are looked at. And all of you being drug regulators are the people who are defining the entire SOPs and also the regulatory aspects that what come across in the country. And it's very, very important to see that we have the right, not only thought process, but right information while we are making decisions. So I think I really welcome this question. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, sir. And there is another comment from Dr. Nishit that for quality products, good agricultural and cultivational practices, good storage and distribution practices must be incorporated in the Drugs Act, similar to the Schedule T. So since
Yes.
this is a suggestion from Dr. Nishit.
Yes. So Dr. Nishit, yes, Dr. Nishit, I think that's a fantastic question. Yes, there are good agricultural cultivation practices that have been set across. The National Medicinal Plant Board of the country has come about with good agricultural practices for the production of medicinal plants, and also in terms of storage and also distribution practices also. Now we need to understand that as regulators, we obviously will treat an apple different from that of a banana, and how it has to be really taken care of. We two medicines of the same kind are not going to be treated together. They would have different standards. So similarly like that, what I would suggest is that saying that it might be similar to Schedule T might not really be the solution, but we come out with a separate schedule that would define what are the good agricultural practices for this particular set of items. It is very, very important what you've questioned me here today, is because that one of the biggest challenges that what the industry is also going to face, if not taken care of right now in the year 2030 and forward, is the availability of quality raw material. Quality raw material, whether it is standardized or just quality raw material, this is a big challenge. And I would also request all you regulators also to put in some amount of time to see that what sort of solutions could come across to this particular question. But yes, there are certain guidelines that have been set, and the National Medicinal Plant Board is working on it.
It's a wonderful discussion we are having on all these aspects, and I hope as the government is looking forward to the revised structure of regulatory mechanism even for Ayurveda, so all these relevant points of discussions will be taken care into in framing the regulations and all. And if any more questions are there, I request the audience to please post in the Q&A, and we would be happy to take those questions as well.
So Lakshmi, normally how I go about my webinars is that I finish well in time, so that there are two things that is clearly established, that people would be still listening to what I'm saying, and apart from that, there would still be more time for questions. So, and as it is, I'm known to talk less, so that's a good time.
And we are already on time, and we are a little well before the scheduled time, I feel. And I think the audience also seems have got all their questions clarified with your brief and crystal clear talk on the Ayurveda system of medicines. And now, now may I invite our Honorary Director General, Mr. Uday Bhaskar, for his views.
Thank you, Lakshmi, and thank you, Arvind, for your great knowledge in this area. So generally, what I observed from the past 21 webinars, the kind of an involvement of the participants in knowing the intricacies and in-depth happenings of Ayurveda. So particularly these good cultivation practices. Dr. Nishit is from Kerala Drugs Control Administration. Kerala is known to be one of the strongest, the traditional medicine developed state. And my point is that unfortunately in India, actually not only the cultivation and the herbs and the plants and the flowers, whatever we are using in Ayurveda, and also in food also. That globally there is a problem about contaminants, excess use of pesticides and all these issues. The shrimp take, for example. So people are using left and right antibiotics. And more or less there are no good cultivation practices. So like in even rice also, paddy, and all these things, we need to have self-regulations. The day by day, the regulations are becoming stringent globally, as far as these contaminants and levels. So India is known for producing quality medicines, particularly in the allopathic system. It's globally known. But there is a long way to go for the Ayush system of medicine. So even though globally people are using, they are not using it as a medicine. As Arvind has rightly mentioned, that most of them are using it as a beauty products or a food or nutraceuticals, whatever it may be. But there are European countries like Norway and African countries like South Africa. Everybody is looking at this, particularly during the pandemic. And I'm happy that what's happening, particularly in the government level. So they have an idea, and they have already decided to form the Ayush Export Promotion Council. That is going to help. At the same time, government need to give a strong support to the the Ayush industry. They need to develop at least, 10, 50 largely used products. They should take up the responsibility to develop the specifications and the cultivation, everything. They should support the industry. That particularly there are Sri Tattva and so many 10, 15 people are very strong. Traditionally, people are there from the past 60, 70, 100 years. But nowadays, everybody thinks that, Ayurveda is the very easiest system to enter. There are not so many regulations. So that is going to have a negative impact on the Ayurveda. I think the entire world is thinking about this, and very recently, Arvind was also there, Minister of Ayush, and myself was also there, had a meeting with South Africa and so many countries. They are seriously working on signing for the MOUs, and they are inviting people from different countries to study Ayurveda at graduate level and postgraduate level. So certainly in the coming days, it's going to be good for the Ayurveda and Ayush. I'm very optimistic. But at the same time, as Nishit has rightly mentioned, I was in drugs control for more than 27, 28 years. So we don't know, even though it's in the act, we don't know what's happening in our act. So many states, if this is the time to learn about everything. Medical devices were not at all notified as drugs. Only 10 years back, they started working on that. Now medical devices also included in the drugs. But at the time, nobody knowing that, what's happening in the medical devices sector, what are the devices. And in Europe, even scans are, and even the wheelchairs are also been notified as a medical devices. But so much is happening like that. As we are calling, we are there since ages. So there is no point in leaving this. Unfortunately, China continued their traditional system of medicine, and they register most of their products with US FDA. They are very strong. Not only that, some Northeast Asian countries also very strong. Even though we too have a strong legacy of this indigenous system of medicine, unfortunately, we left that system, and this is the time to revisit, and we need to establish. And certainly, the kind of a knowledge Arvind, I'm interacting with him regularly, but I never knew that he has such an in-depth knowledge about the regulations also. So thank you so much, and I'm Lakshmi and Deshpandeji. I think this talk is one of the best talks in the recent times, particularly on a different topic. We are, as a regulators, we are more interested in allopathic system of medicine or medical devices and the rules, the patents, and all those things. This is I think, good beginning, Arvindji. Let us continue to interact, and thank you very much for giving us your time. And I think this is the first time in the past 1 year we revised the schedule. Generally, we used to organize from 11 to 12. I think this is Lakshmi's decision to shift this from 4 to 5 also, not disturbed our regular schedules, and people are interested. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Udayji, and thank you so much, Lakshmiji. And it's been a pleasure to interact with all of you here. And this much I can tell you from Sri Sri Tattva side, we've always ensured that we champion Ayurveda in a scientific manner. And as what you rightly said, Udayji, to do that, we definitely have to be very well versed, whether it's in the national regulatory standards or international. So happy to come on to any conversation at any time, on these matters. And yes, but I feel that it's made things more easier because of people like all of you who've been there and also seen that how even the Ayush systems could also bring in good amount of progress when it comes to regulatory conformity as well. And thank you very much, Lakshmi, for accommodating, this between, 4 and 5. My schedule, demanded that, that morning I couldn't make it. So thank you very much. I thought I'll just make mention of this, Udayji. Thank you. Lakshmi, over to you.
Thank you, Arvindji. And the people feel that regulators are so strict in their mindset. So whatever they feel, they are ready to do that. But we are even open to accommodate the needs of the speakers or even the stakeholders. And we wanted to show that as a gesture of our concern in this today's program. And it's really a great pleasure to have you with us and to learn more and more insights on the Ayurveda system of medicines by all our regulators. And thank you so much. And I also extend our sincere thanks to Deshpande sir and Uday Bhaskar sir for sparing your time at this point of day in our program. And I extend our sincere thanks to all the participants for patient listening. And we look forward to have more and more sessions on the Ayurveda and other alternative system of medicines in the days to come. Thanks. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Special thanks to Mr. Arvind.
Thank you. Thank you, Deshpande ji. Thank you. Thank you.